right, we are going to transition to the last awards as part of our space awards ceremony. And we are at award number 9. And another fun name, this one's called Date Night in Space. So this award goes to 2 people. Taking space classes can be a wonderful adventure, but taking space classes as a couple can be even more fun. Actually, we had 2 couples tie for the Date Night in Space award, so both couples will receive bonus tokens. This award goes to Zach and Magali S. So congrats to you and our other couple, Chris and Crystal B. Congratulations to you both. As couples, you took a combined total of 22 modules with us, tying at 22. So thank you and congrats. Okay, our 10th and final award is the Perfect Attendance Award. This award was a draw from amongst all of our students who had perfect attendance in our highest enrollment month, which was this past September. So the Perfect Attendance Award goes to, drumroll, Aaron B. Congrats, Aaron. A bonus token has been or will be added to your BlackBerry account. I wanted to mention a couple things. Even though our 10 awards are done, we have that ongoing award for the rest of today. That I'm calling the Space Abs Award. If you purchase a 5-pack today, Eastern time by midnight, we will up that to a 6-pack. So Space Abs, get it? All right, so that's ongoing today. And I just want to celebrate. We have already had a 5-pack purchase today, and announcing the historic first 5-pack purchase ever made in the history of space. That goes to Jason T. So congrats, Jason. Thank you for your purchase of a 5-pack, and it has been upped to a 6-pack. One other thing I wanted to mention was our round trip special. So this is an ongoing promotion from now until December 1st, when we close voting. So if you are a student who enrolls in December and votes for January, as our annual celebration goes, we're going to gift you a bonus token. And if it is your first ever enrollment in December, you're new to space and jumping in for the first time in December, we're going to give you a free vote for January. We just love how the community is extending and expanding, and so that is the round trip special, open from now until the end of December 1st, and then we'll announce all those who got their round trip special, and we'll give you a bonus token if you qualify. So that is the end of our awards ceremony in celebration of our first year in space. All right, so we're going to transition to our 4th and final space capsule, this time featuring our general humanities sector. Presenting this capsule is Wesley Shantz. Wesley is also a fellow student with me in Japanese, and so it's delightful to see you and precepting a course in January with us. But he's gonna, showcase our general humanities sector. Wesley Shantz is a teacher and space preceptor. At Signum, he has also served as a coordinator for Signum Academy and a tutor for Writers Forge. He enjoys Mad Libs, learning Japanese in space, reading books with his almost three-year-old, who we saw there, and playing and talking about video games with friends and students of all ages. Please welcome Preceptor Wesley Shantz. The title of Preceptor Shantz's capsule is Video Games in Space. The description: the capsule will introduce video game studies, available in January, and will point forward to future modules like Dominique Nardi's video game storytelling in February. We'll look at the ways in which games impact us through play, asking questions about video games' significance and their presence in popular culture. Hi, Wes.
Hi.
Great to have you here, and take it away.
Oh, I think this will work. Yeah, good to be here. Thank you so much. I'm going to start with a quick question. I'm hoping that people can see everything okay. Do you recognize this game, anybody? And you can just unmute and speak.
Space Invaders, isn't it?
It is. It is. Well done. I've made a modification. Maybe you can read it. It was just read for you too. Video games in space there. Uh, I like the way that the aliens, the invaders, are encroaching on our little lone shooter down here. Of course, we've got a couple extra ones, extra lives, just in case. But now these words are coming down to get us too, right? There's a certain I get a little bit anxious or nervous when I talk about things that I really enjoy, and if you as if it might get in the way of the enjoyment, right? And so I hope that is not what happens. I hope instead that our discussing and talking about these things brings out more aspects that we can enjoy together. So let's make these words part of our defense system here and extra lives for us instead of attackers. And I think that part of the way I'm going to do this, my hope is that I'm going to approach games a little bit obliquely here in this first module that I'm offering, and that's via a text, a traditional text, a literary text, a novel, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. Oh, Laurel has read it. Laurel, do you mind unmuting and talking a bit? What did you love about it? Because I love it too.
The character interactions, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was one of those books where I heard about it and then a book club I run selected it. So it started some fascinating discussion, especially among people who didn't play video games.
Great.
So it's a fun book. And it's one that's so easily approachable, even if you aren't already interested in video games, and sparks great discussion.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I think it's going to be a sort of like half of a books club type of thing that we'll do, talking about this book, talking about the characters who are really interesting and their relationships, right? Each of them on their own is great. And then when you bring them together and you play them off one another, such cool things start to happen. The way that Gabrielle Zevin presents them sort of one by one and then very quickly puts them into contact with each other. I'm sorry, there's some earthquaking here. Oh, I'm going to admit Christopher. Yeah, and then the other half of the module will be really looking at the games themselves, right? So kind of more directly the games that are referenced in the book, and some of the elements of those games, their music, their art, their gameplay, of course, and their story. So that's the general overview here. Now, can anyone point out for me the reference that is being made here, the allusion in the title, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow?
Well,
Go for it.
the Macbeth soliloquy.
The Macbeth. Yes, I'm sorry, who's talking? I can't quite
Oh, I'm
see.
sorry. Yeah, my video is not working very well. This is Christopher.
Oh, welcome, Christopher. Well done. I've got the soliloquy here. If anyone would like to read it, I invite you to do so. But if not, I've also got Denzel Washington, a clip of his recent turn as Macbeth.
I'd be happy to do it, but I don't know if I can compete with Denzel Washington.
No, you can. You absolutely can. You are in person, so to speak, and thus you are more real. I'm going to say in this moment because we can have a dialogue. We can, and that's the beauty of the space module. So go for it. Yeah, you
All
read
right, here we go. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle, life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
Beautiful. I would applaud that. Have you played any any Shakespeare roles, or just studied them in school? Just a student of Shakespeare. Well, in this speech, we have, of course, the phrase that gives us the title of the book. Anyone want to share some interpretation of what, just without a lot of context, right? We don't assume that everyone knows the whole story, but what are you taking from this? What is the force of that phrase, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow?
I've got something. If
Yeah,
that's okay.
please.
Sorry, it's Ruth, by the way.
Go ahead, Ruth.
To me, it starts off the tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow is kind of like continue pushing forwards and
Yeah.
keep going. But then when you read the rest of it, it's kind of like, why are you doing it? Why do you keep pushing forwards and keep trying to get further? Because like Brief Candle, it's going to end. We're not here for that long. Why do that? But then it's kind of like opposites.
Yeah.
So you want to move forwards, but then you're like, maybe not. Maybe that's a bad idea.
There is a certain resolute irresolution is what I'm taking from that. And Carrie
Yeah.
in the chat, video games aren't signifying nothing. Yeah. No, I think we are meant to push back against this, right? No, of course there's meaning, even if you're just a player on the stage, right? You, of course, are very meaningful. And it does signify, does have meaning. That I think anyway. So we'll hustle along here. Oh, no, we won't. Laurel, go for it.
Just want to build on that because the phrase in Macbeth does essentially call to like, this is empty, this is meaningless. But I think in the use in the title, it's focusing more on the concept that even if it does feel futile, there's still that fleeting chance. Like,
Yes.
there's still tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, even if it's not, it's never going to be completely empty. So I really like the
So
illusion
it's
there.
like tomorrow could be better type thing.
Yeah, even just a small, single fleeting chance, but there is still a tomorrow and tomorrow.
Yeah, and Carrie follows up, only an idiot rushes to the destiny, the petty pace of tomorrow, never arriving, but always looming. So there's a character in the story, and we'll get to it eventually, of course, in January, who who has a very affirming, like a more affirming take on this as well. That idea that there's more chances and there's more lives, if you like, in a game. You know, you have our extra lives. Here's the next allusion, the reference from the cover of the book, and of course also referenced within the story, is the Great Wave, a woodblock print by Hokusai, a Japanese artist of the mid 19th century, so early to mid 1800s. Okay, yeah, Christopher, no worries. Keep bringing you back in as many times as you got. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, right? Another interesting book, Laurel says, not nearly as in-depth in terms of video games, but touches on game narrative. Aaron Morgenstern's The Starless Sea. The Starless Sea, I've heard of, but haven't read. So I think what's great about this book, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, to kind of, again, weave together some things that it's putting before us here. It has this quality of encyclopedic aspiration, right? It brings in art, it brings in poetry and plays and video games and relationships. And this is something that novels are wonderful for, representing life in all its facets and characters' views on that. This image here, does anyone want to just share something that impresses you as you take a look at this image? Probably not for the first time, right? This is a very famous image, but what is striking you as you're looking at it this time? Again, I invite you to
I'd
just
say one thing that's striking me this time is usually it's the wave that's focused on, and you don't really look at the little little guys in the boats bowing
Yeah.
down in the face of this massive ocean and
Right.
waves. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at right now.
If you can see just at the bottom of the cover, you can just see the prow of one of the boats. Yeah, there's this quality of the overwhelming power of nature, and then our little human attempts to keep going. Laurel, yeah, please.
I feel like I'm cheating a little bit here because I've discussed this in different classes before,
You're
both
good.
history and art. Um, but I didn't realize at the time it was made, it was because of contact with the Western world was essentially forbidden. So the Great Wave came to represent a lot of symbolic change, whether that was like fear of change, respect of like the idea behind isolation, but not the outcome of it. So every time I see this now, the two things that pop into my mind are fear, respect, and the possibility of exploration
Oh, that's
in the
lovely.
face of such fear and respect.
I love that. And I read briefly as I was looking at this for the date, I saw that the color blue that's used is like a special color that helps to bring that idea of globalizing, right? This trade between far-flung places and exploration, and this Prussian blue color. Carrie, please. You're seeing this for the first time. Yeah,
Yes, I was seeing it for the first time and
cool.
seeing it on a game cover of a game book.
Yeah.
All I could think of was it's me in the boat against the devs.
Against the devs. You're trying to compete, right? And maybe think of Space Invader, right? They're coming for me, but I have to fight back. I have to use the force I
next
have.
screen is going to be worse than this one, and the next level is going to be worse than this one, because they know what they have planned for me and I have no idea.
And we love that.
And we love it.
The ratcheting up of the difficulty. Then let's dig into the actual book just briefly here as William knocks on the. Can you stop? Thanks. This is from Emily Dickinson. This is the epigraph to the text. That love is all there is all we know of love. It is enough. The freight should be proportioned to the groove. Yeah, Dickinson's poetry. Anyone a fan or have any quick takes on this? I know we're rattling along. Mount Fuji in the background, a site which holds great. Yes, we would be remiss not mentioning that, of course, all these are views of Mount Fuji, and there's 36 of them in the series, or I believe, and Mount Fuji is a very meaningful place, but in the image is dwarfed by the size of the waves. Yeah, tremendous. The freight and the groove. Thoughts on Emily?
I have lots of thoughts on them. I don't want to keep stealing the mic though, if anyone else has some.
There's a fabulous story by Zelazny about these, maybe the woodblock prints, Christopher. Zelazny of Amber fame. I love those Amber books. That's all I've read by him, but
Yeah,
it's a
I
lot.
think he wrote 24 Views of Mount Fuji.
Okay,
It's
24
a
views.
novella, science fiction.
Yeah. Well, no, please don't hold back. If you want to speak about Emily, now's your chance, because we're about to blast into another
There's
thing.
some of Emily Dickinson's works that I love and some that I can't stand. It's an interesting back and forth. Usually if there's one author, I either like it and I'm ambivalent to the rest, or I hate it and I'm ambivalent to the rest. It's very odd to have two direct dichotomies for me, but Dickinson manages it. I do like this particular piece though, because it struggles against the concept of definition.
Good.
And it's saying like that love is all there is all we know of love. And she's struggling to define what love is within this concept. And she's like comparing it to weight and almost saying like, but do we need to know what love is?
Mm-hmm.
And I
It is
think in
enough.
this poem, she comes to the answer of no, we don't. And it differs in other poems, but this particular one I quite enjoy.
She says it is enough. Yeah, and that idea again of dichotomy coming up, and maybe we could put it another way of balance, right? There's a proportion here. There's a fittingness to our knowledge and our ignorance, and how we sort of, again, muddle on, muddle through. There's a lot of this in the book. Characters in love, out of love, various kinds of love, friendship and family and romance. And of course, the love of the work, right? Of doing, in Emily's case, her poetry, in the characters in the book, their video games, their design. And here's one of the games. You can actually play this, is called Emily Blaster, that Sadie Green, one of the main characters, develops for her class. And there's a version of this on the internet that is tied in with the the merchandising and the advertising for the book. And it's pretty fun, actually. So I encourage you, not now, because we're talking for a bit longer yet, but later you can go and look this up, Emily Blaster. A few more games. So let's talk about some of the games that appear early in the book and that sort of set the tone for what we're up to in tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Super Mario Brothers, of course, and the Oregon Trail. Anyone want to jump in and share some memories or takes on either of these games?
Oregon Trail. How many possible ways can you find to die in the most horrible fashion possible?
Right, right. So Oregon Trail, a text-based adventure. Yes, very famously, people are always dying on the Oregon Trail, and that's okay. And again, like the difficulty or even unfairness there is why we keep coming back in a way and trying again. Yeah. And Mario Bros. There's the quote: "You have died of dysentery," Carrie says. And Carrie has survived and lives in Oregon to this day. Well done. The way that the characters meet, just to jump forward a little bit, they're playing video games as kids in the hospital, in the playroom of the hospital. Sadie finds Sam, the other main character, playing Super Mario Brothers, and Sam is very adept at Mario. He can jump and reach the top of the flagpole and slide down to get all the points. And so they hit it off, and they're friends, fast friends in both senses. And much later, when Sam sees her again in the busy train station in Boston when they're in college, he calls out to her, "Sadie Green, you have died of dysentery," to try to get her attention. And of course, she finally turns around and they reconnect. One of the many moments of reconnection. So connection and reconnection through games, through the memory of games, through these fond memories they have together playing games and talking about games. The other kind of like master key to this book, and my read on it this time as I'm reading it again, I really like this thing about the magic eye. It's a really small thing, but when they're in the subway station, all the people in waiting for the train are looking at this thing on the wall, and it's withheld from us and withheld from us, and finally we find out it's this poster for the magic eye. Did anybody have success looking at these 3D images? This is a very 90s thing, I guess. I was
I
never very
used to
good at
try,
them.
but never manage it.
I was never good at these either. And friends of mine would be so fast at getting them, Anyway, the advertisement says, "See the world in a whole new way. This Christmas, the gift everyone wants is the magic eye." There's clearly something about seeing, perceiving, knowing what other people see, right? When they look at you or when they look at things, that this book is really interested in. And there's a kind of trick to seeing, seems to be the way that some of the characters, anyway, approach the world. They are in it to win the game, right? And they want to find all the hidden secrets in the game, right? Yeah, and if you try to force it, Carrie points out, we used to try to force it to show us more than the goal. Yeah, there's this aspect of trying and then trying without as much effort, so to speak, right? That you can accomplish things sometimes through more gentle approaches. There's a really lovely passage at the end of the book. We'll get to it, of course, where they think back to this moment, and it's this kind of thing where it's very open to the reader's interpretation, right? Like, what did they see there in the Christmas themed Magic Eye poster? It's kind of a very the movie Lost in Translation has a famous moment where the actor is saying something, and it's not revealed in the film what he said to the other character. So in game studies, there's this concept of the magic circle being an important way to frame a discussion of games. And there's also been a lot of pushing back against that we can't sort of circumscribe easily what's going on in a game because all sorts of factors interfere. There's so many considerations for the developers as people, as business people, and for players, of course, likewise. We can't just look at the thing, like we like to do a lot of times, following that logic of close reading, of really understanding what's there. So while I'm partial to the magic circle and I love a good close reading, I also really like this idea of the magic eye as kind of a way to break out of that people can see things that are totally disparate, and that a lot of what they see is coming from who they are and their experiences and their particular tricks and quirks of looking at the world, looking at texts, looking at video games. So I throw that out as a provocation, a theoretical sally. So 2 people are raising hands, but again, I'm on a screen where it's hard for me to see who's raising hands. So just unmute. Ruth, yeah, unmute.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Go for it.
That the way you were talking about the circle,
Yes.
it reminded me a lot of Lord of the Rings Online.
Oh, good.
And the way Corey's been looking at it as an adaptation. So what choices the developers have made to adapt the story, but then also what we can think about it. Like, he spends a lot of time looking at architecture and trying to figure out like the history through the ruins and things like that. And it's really interesting when you can look at it. Was it Lewis in the tool shed? Either look at the beam or along the beam.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think you can do that with a lot of games, and it can really help you to understand your character almost more.
Yes.
And let you, it sounds daft, but it can help you sort through even what's going on in the real world, as it were. And you can sort of
totally. Yeah.
transfer the feelings and experiences and things like that. And yeah.
by looking at this thing so closely and in this clear light, right? Yeah, we somehow can then transfer that. And then I think it was it Christopher raising a hand here? No, Sharon,
Hey,
sorry.
Sharon, yeah.
Sharon, go for
I
it.
was just gonna offer that for almost any game, some obviously are more, I think, it's easier to apply a magic eye in this sense, and in others, it's very lore driven. So, like for example, Corey's looking at Lord of the Rings online. That's a very obvious one. There are some other games out there in which the lore is not established or provided, but people just pick every detail apart of every character and every piece of equipment they have and every like character line they have, and they can construct these incredibly complicated lore behind it. And the reason why I know this is because my young 20s son has had me watch hours of it with him in his youth.
Yeah.
Looking at all his favorite games and all the lore behind them. but I think that it does speak a lot to the idea of the way adaptation can work, as Ruth was just talking about. Some things really appeal to some people who are consuming the video game or the adaptation, and they're just incredibly invested in the magic eye or the lore, and others are just taking the game as it comes, the mechanics, and just making their way through the game, and it seems to not really have an impact. But either way, the game is successful. So in a similar way, a film, an adaptation, a text, it's still successful when people are engaging with it. And it helps us, I think, to not be critical, because if you're the magic eye people, you say, oh, these people have no clue. They don't know what
Yeah.
we know. And
Right.
the lore people are like, this is what it means. This is the story behind it all. This is what the developers are saying. And then the other people who just, they're watching Rings of Power going, did it work? I don't know anything about it. I like it. Yeah, it's great. No, music, this, that, the other. And so I don't know. I just want to say that they're all have value. They're all valid.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the kinds of attention differ, but the fact of attention matters a lot. Yes, yes. And this is a funny moment because we're seeing things from Sam's point of view. He's a bit of uh, a loner, I guess you'd say. He doesn't have a lot of friends, but he does have these couple of friends that are very close. And the reason that he turns and looks at the Magic Eye poster at all is because he's worried about how his friend is going to respond if he goes home and says, I didn't even look to see what they were looking at. And then because he turns and looks at it, he directs his attention on behalf of this other person. He sees the third person, Sadie, the girl that he knew as kids that played games with. And so it's this lovely sort of moment of refracted attention, and concerns and things. And anyways, so we're running low on time, and I just wanted to show these bits of text. We haven't looked at, any of the actual text really, but this is the way that the two main characters are introduced, and then the games seminar, the advanced games seminar that one of them is involved in. And so in January, if you do go on and take this, we'll talk much more about those characters. We'll talk about their struggles to connect and reconnect. And about the games that they're developing and that they dream of developing. There's this very important idea, as we kind of mentioned already, having to get together and pick ourselves up and try again. And we learned that from video games for sure, continuing after a defeat. There's a lot of playful things about this book, and the ways that the characters within it think about what they're up to making games. And so we will try to develop those through the weeks of the class, spending about an hour focusing on the theory side of things, and then the second hour each week really focusing on the text and the characters and the stuff going on in the story. So there's a little breakdown of those, circling around this idea of, games as this connection between play and creative art, right? In all the forms that takes. And then as we close here, I'll just say, in the following months, right, there's all these great other books people have mentioned, and of course, many other games worth talking about. I do hope this develops into something of a book club for video games, and for those lenses, those perspectives on games. There's great essays and whole books written about ways to interpret, ways to study games academically. And so this is a few of this slide has a few of the games coming up in February, with Dominic Nardi's video game storytelling module, Inside, Brothers, Portal, What Remains of Edith Finch, and Detroit Become Human are the 5 games that he plans on playing along with you and discussing with you. So that's our general humanities capsule. I think Carrie put something else long in the chat. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to touch on that, but yeah, so there's this consideration of who's playing the game. Non-male players, some plays on easy, drag someone else through, then they get everyone to play, but now on hard, and we see something different every time. Yeah, that's the definition of a classic, isn't it, Carrie? Well, thank you, Christopher. Thank you all for attending, and I'll hand you back now to Rob for the Signum Press, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, Wes, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
We really appreciate you giving a taste of our general humanities sector, but not only that, opening the door really with video game studies, you and Dr. Nardi with, it's something that we haven't seen yet in our general humanities sector yet. And so, yes, please look at Wes's candidate in January and Dominique's in February. Yeah, thank you very much, Wes.